Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day. Want to welcome you all back to another installment of Live Album Spotlight. The band is Jethro Tull, and the album in the spotlight is Bursting Out, specifically the Inflated edition, the six-disc set that was released on June 21st, 2024 through Chrysalis, Parlophone, and Warner Music, respectively. Now, the original release for Bursting Out was released on September 22nd, 1978 through Chrysalis Records. The material for the album was recorded during Jethro Tull's European leg of the Heavy Horses tour from May to June of 1978. And there's a funny story. There was a spelling error on the first pressing of the album for the US, Canadian, Spanish, and Swedish markets, listing the album as busting out, not bursting out. So obviously, all subsequent releases had the correct spelling. Now, all of the audio that features on the Inflated edition has been remixed by Mr. Steven Wilson. Now, performing on the album, some people would call this the classic lineup of Jethro Tull. You have Mr. Jethro Tull himself, Ian Anderson on vocals, flute, an acoustic guitar. You have Martin Barre or Barre, depending on how you pronounce it, on electric guitar, mandolin, and marimba. You have John Evans on piano, organ, accordion, and synthesizer. Barry Barrymore Barlow on drums and glockenspiel. David Palmer, now D. Palmer, on portative, pipe organ and synthesizer. And the late John Glasscock on bass guitar and vocals. Now, there are two concerts featured on this set. The second concert is a performance at the Data at Madison Square Garden on October 1st, 1978. And for that performance on bass guitar, you had Tony Williams stepping in for John Glasscock. At that point, John Glasscock was no longer in the band. He had to leave due to health reasons, and he unfortunately passed away shortly after this, which is quite unfortunate. Now, I've listened to this album quite a few times, as you can well imagine. And I gotta tell you, the sound quality and the musicianship featured on this album is simply fantastic. Okay. I That is the only way I can describe this album to you. Okay, is fantastic. Martin Barre's guitar tone is really prominent in the mix and is really thick and heavy. Okay, so the album starts off with the introduction by Claude Nobbs. Then it goes into No Lullaby, fantastic version of this album. On this album of No Lullaby, Sweet Dream is next, clocking in at 6 minutes and 3 seconds. And I should say that Ian Anderson does engage with the audience quite a bit on this album in terms of song intros and band introductions, etc. It is simply amazing, and there is a good mix of heavy in terms of all that Jethro Tull, heavy music mixed with beautiful pastoral acoustic intros and accompaniments. After Sweet Dream comes Skating Away on the Thin Ice of the New Day. Amazing, amazing. Clocking in at like 4 minutes and 36 seconds. Jack in the Green is next, and One Brown Mouse. Then it goes into a 10-minute, 4-second version of Heavy Horses, the tour that this album is based on. Just amazing, amazing. Heavy as all get out. The band are in top, top form. They are really tight. After Heavy Horses comes A New Day Yesterday, a short 2 minutes, 33 seconds. Then it segues into a flute solo improvisation from uh, Ian Anderson, featuring God Rest You Merry Gentlemen and Bori, that clocks in at 6 minutes even. And I gotta tell you, as good as this album is, and it is fantastic, I can't get enough of it. You do hear Ian Anderson snort quite a bit and quite heavily into the mic when he is doing his flute solos. And I don't mean once or twice. Almost every single time that he's performing his solos, he snorts and quite heavily. I don't know if there was a way that they could have mixed that out. I don't think they could have, or brought it down in the mix without affecting the rest of the album, but you do hear it. Okay. So after the flute solo comes Living in the Past as an instrumental, clocking in at just like a minute 49 seconds. And track 11 is a beautiful version of Songs from the Wood, uh, finishing off the concert portion of disc one. Now, what's included on the Bursting Out album portion, CD one and two, are sound check recordings. Okay. There's 5 on disc one and 3 on disc two. So I'll go into that with you. And in terms of sound check recordings, these are fantastic. The band are really tight, they're really in top form. The drums are heavy, the guitars are fantastic. Everyone is in full flight. You have on disc one of the soundcheck recordings, you have a good version of No Lullaby, Sweet Dream, a 9-minute, 34-second version of Heavy Horses, an instrumental up next called Botanic Man at 3 minutes and 10 seconds, and another instrumental called 4WD, Low Ratio, clocking in at 3 minutes and 7 seconds. Disc one overall clocks in at 74 minutes and 42 seconds. Okay, so you get a good amount of music, heavy as all get out, very tight performances done live. The audience is into it, the band are into it, and Ian Anderson is engaging with the audience as they go along very well, just beautifully done. That's disc one. Disc two starts off with a short version of Thick as a Brick. And he does introduce it, and he basically says, let's see if you can pick up this tune. And he goes into it, and the audience goes nuts because they know what's coming up. Again, it's a shortened version of Thick as a Brick, clocking in at 13 minutes and 37 seconds. Hunting Girl is next. Okay, beautifully done. The one track that it's fine, it's not one of my favorites, is Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die, clocking in at 3 minutes and 48 seconds. It's not one of my favorites. Even the album itself of the same name is not one of my favorite albums of Tull's, but you know what? It's good for what it is. It's just not one of my favorite tracks. Coming up next is Conundrum at 6 minutes and 57 seconds. Fantastic track. Minstrel in the Gallery is next. And again, I can't stress this enough. This was at a time when Ian Anderson had just been diagnosed with the early stages of COPD. You can't tell. His vocal is so strong and his delivery is so forceful, delicate at times also, but forceful and commanding that you can't tell that he's dealing with this condition, right? After Minstrel in the Gallery is a fantastic version of Cross-Eyed Mary. Heavy as all get up, okay? Up next, after Cross-Eyed Mary, is the instrumental Quatrain, which clocks in at a minute and 33 seconds. That segues into a blistering version of Aqualung, 8 minutes and 49 seconds for that. Locomotive Breath from the same album, Aqualung, comes in at 5 minutes and 31 seconds. And the album finishes with the Dam Busters March, okay, on disc two. Now, for the sound check recordings, you have 3 additional tracks. You have Conundrum, which it's amazing. It is fantastic. Clocking in at 7 minutes and 44 seconds. Now, what I like about these sound check recordings, the band are tight. It's not one of these, okay, well, let's try it and see if it works. It's all soundboard recordings, okay? There are no stop and starts on this. It's fantastic. After Conundrum is Quatrain, another version of it for the sound check. And they knew they were going to include these tracks in the concert. They were that tight with this material. Quatrain clocks in at a minute and 45 seconds. Track 13 and the final track on disc 2 is another version of the Dam Busters March. CD2 clocks in at 72 minutes and 12 seconds. So on the first two discs, you get a lot of bang for your buck. You get, 13 tracks on disc two, 16 tracks on disc one. You know what? You're flying. And the music on these two CDs is simply fan bloody tastic. I can't say that enough. Now, when you get to CD3, you have Live at Madison Square Garden, recorded October 1st, 1978. Now, for some reason, this is listed in the notes as an edited version of the show. I do not know why they didn't do a full version of the concert. They could have added a seventh disc and put the entire show on 4 CDs. I, I don't know why. You could have had the Bursting Out original album on the CDs one and two, and you could have had Live at Madison Square Garden on CDs three and four. I do not know why they didn't include that, but they didn't. So the full version of the concert at Madison Square Garden is included on DVD Audio 3 of the collection. You also get on that disc, you also get, as part of the video portion, 50 minutes plus of additional concert footage from Madison Square Garden. And another note about the Madison Square Garden performance before I get into the tracks. Madison Square Garden performance was broadcast on the BBC at the time of the show. So, and it was one of the first times, I do believe the first time that had ever happened. So a lot of things could have gone wrong with the transmission of the video for the show, but it didn't. So going into CD3, starts off with the Sweet Dream fanfare, beautiful, an announcement of the band onto the stage, 2 minutes and 22 seconds. They go into a great version of Sweet Dream. Up next is One Brown Mouse, a edited version at 7 minutes and 22 seconds of Heavy Horses, which, if you remember the original version on Bursting Out, is 10 minutes and 4 seconds. After Heavy Horses is an 11-minute 23-second version, edited down, of course, of Thick as a Brick. Heavy as all get out. The band are tight. Again, Martin Barre's performance is sublime. Heavy, thick, rich guitar tone, beautiful. No Lullaby is next, which segues into the flute solo improvisation, including Guy Rusty Gentleman and a version of the track Kelpie. Beautiful, beautiful. After that, they segue into Songs from the Wood, which features an intro of pipe rock. Okay, clocking in at 4 minutes and 54 seconds. After that is another shortened version of Quatrain at 41 seconds. That segues into another blistering version of Aqualung, track number 10. After Aqualung is a great version of Locomotive Breath, again from Aqualung. The Dam Busters March clocks in at 2 minutes and 42 seconds. Also, another instrumental is a track called A Single Man, featuring a drum solo by Barry Barrymore Barlow. This guy on drums is bloody amazing, okay? He is so tight in with the band. It is obscene how good he is. And he is blistering on the drums, just amazing. That version of A Single Man clocks in at 7 minutes and 52 seconds. And then comes in another version of Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die, 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Again, not my favorite track from the band, but you know what? It's okay. Then it goes into the track My God from Aqualung, and then Cross-Eyed Mary. Again, heavy as all get out, blistering. Okay. And that's the end of the performance at Madison Square Garden. So you get on CDs 1 and 2, you get the full concert for Bursting Out, 20 tracks, plus you get another 16 tracks from the Madison Square Garden performance on CD. Again, The DVD 3 audio portion of DVD 3 contains the full 93-minute Madison Square Garden show plus 50 minutes plus of footage and also TV ads for the concert. Okay. So that's it, guys. That is the live album Spotlight on Bursting Out. Please, if you have this set in your collection, which I'm sure most of you do, if not all of you do, this set is going on Amazon at this point right now for $81. Okay. So if you can get your hot little hands on this collection, please do. You won't be disappointed. Again, the music was remixed by Steven Wilson, and he does a fantastic does a fantastic mix of this album. What I like about what Steven Wilson does is he does tend to bring out certain instruments out of the mix and make certain instruments more prominent. Okay. And he does have a tendency to make it sound like a surround sound version of the album when it isn't even surround sound. Okay. So if you can pick it up on Amazon.ca or Amazon.com, it's going for roughly around $81 and change. Very affordable. Please get them while you can, because once these sets go out of print on the first run, you're looking at paying $250 up, because some people, when they want to resell their stuff, can be really greedy. And I refuse to do that. So that's it for now. Please, if you have listened to the inflated version of Bursting Out, please let me know in the comments down below. We have more episodes coming up. Jim Bricker and possibly Bill Schuster is going to join me on another episode of Is This Prog featuring Queen 2. Yes, we're going to, answer the question that has been on the minds of musicologists and music fans ever since its release in March and April of '74. Is Queen 2 prog? So please stay tuned for that. That's going to be a fun show, and more ideas, more shows coming up in the near future. I'm Armando Venditti signing off. Please look after yourselves and one another, and I'll see you soon, very soon, with another video. Bye for now.